Welcome everyone. Today we are going to discuss a book that is much more than just an autobiography. It is a living document of Indian women's history, Amarjiban by Rassundari Devi. The title Amarjiban simply means my life. Published in 1876, it is widely regarded as the first autobiography written by an Indian woman. It was also the first full-length autobiography written by a woman in the Bengali literature. In this video, we will explore Rassundari Devi's life journey, the important compositions included in university syllabus such as Delhi University, the condition of women in 19th century Bengal, major themes like education, patriarchy and faith, and finally, why this text continues to remain important even today. Let us begin with the author herself. Rassundari Devi was born in 1809 in the village of Potajia in Bengal. At the age of only 12, she was married and sent to Ramadia village. During her lifetime, she gave birth to 12 children and spent most of her years managing household responsibilities. What makes her story truly remarkable is that she taught herself to read at the age of 26. This was an extraordinary achievement because during that period, women's education was often discouraged and even considered sinful by many. The first part of her autobiography was published in 1876 when she was around 66 years old. The second part was published in 1906. At one point, Rassundari Devi writes, "I was like a caged bird, shut up forever." This single line captures much of her experience after marriage. She felt as though her freedom had disappeared. Yet the same woman who compared herself to a caged bird eventually found her voice through writing. That voice has now become one of the most important documents in Indian literary history. Now let us move to compositions 1 and 2. Rassundari initially describes her childhood as warm, loving and secure. She lived in Potajia village, and because there was a boys' school nearby, she would sometimes hear letters and lessons being recited. However, everything changed after marriage. At the age of 12, she was sent nearly 3 days away from her home to Ramdia. She recalls clinging to her mother during her departure and pleading, "Mother, please do not send me away." She describes the entire journey to her new home in great detail. The boat journey in particular is deeply emotional. When she woke up the next morning, she found herself surrounded by strangers far away from everything familiar. She writes, "The bird was thrust behind the cage, the fish fell into the net." This metaphor is not only about her personal suffering, it represents the experience of countless women in 19th century India. Through these images, she suggests that her story was not unique but shared by many women of her time. Compositions 3 and 4 give us a glimpse into the daily life of a married woman. Rassundari worked from dawn until late at night. Cooking, caring for children, performing religious duties, and serving family members filled every hour of her day. Although there were servants in the house, the indoor domestic work remained her responsibility. One particularly striking incident reveals the extent of her sacrifice. She describes how she went without food for 2 days. On the first day, she gave her meal to a guest. On the second day, when she finally sat down to eat, her baby accidentally spoiled the food and it could not be eaten. Even then, she did not complain. No one asked whether she had eaten. This episode is not simply about personal sacrifice. It exposes the invisible labor of women. Her constant work was expected, yet it was rarely acknowledged or appreciated. Now we come to compositions 5 and 6, often considered the most powerful sections of the autobiography. Rassundari developed a strong desire to learn how to read, especially because she wanted to read the religious text Chaitanya Bhagavat. However, society strongly opposed women's education. Many people mocked the idea and would say things like, "Women will now start taking over men's work." The fear of being discovered was so great that she was afraid even to look openly at a written page. Eventually, she secretly tore a page from a manuscript and hid it beneath the kitchen hearth. She also used her son's palm leaf writing board to help herself learn. While cooking and managing household duties, she would secretly study letters under her veil and slowly match them together. After years of quiet effort, she finally learned how to read. This is why she writes, "My reading was so painfully acquired." It is important to note that she learned to read, not to write. Writing required pens, ink, and more visible practice, making it much harder to hide. Her struggle transformed education into an act of courage and resistance. Composition 7 introduces another deeply emotional aspect of her life, her relationship with her mother. Rassundari writes movingly about how much she missed her mother after marriage. "I am immersed in sorrows. I have lost my mother's arms." After marriage, she could meet her mother only on special occasions. Even then, she was accompanied by attendants and closely supervised. The most heartbreaking moment comes when her mother is on her deathbed and wishes to see her one final time. Rassundari is unable to go. Reflecting on this, she writes, "Had I been her son, I would have flown like a bird." This simple statement becomes a powerful criticism of gender inequality. A son would have had the freedom to travel, but a daughter does not. Let us now look at some of the major themes in Amarjiban. The first theme is women's education. Although education was forbidden for women, the desire for knowledge could not be suppressed. The second theme is the caged bird. Throughout the autobiography, marriage is repeatedly represented through images of confinement and imprisonment. These metaphors highlighted how restricted the lives of women could be. The third theme is faith in God. Despite her hardships, Rassundari constantly turns to God for strength and comfort. Faith becomes her source of survival. The fourth theme is the mother-daughter relationship. Separation from her mother forms the emotional heart of the autobiography. The final theme is self-expression. By writing about her experiences, Rassundari gave voice to struggles that had long remained unspoken. Her autobiography does not present a loud rebellion. Instead, its resistance is quiet, personal, and deeply powerful. The historical background of this autobiography is equally important. The 19th century in Bengal is often known as the Bengal Renaissance. During this period, several social reforms began to emerge. In 1829, the practice of sati was abolished through the efforts of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Later, the Widow Remarriage Act was passed in 1856. However, despite these reforms, most women still lived within strict domestic boundaries. Female literacy remained extremely low, and many women spent their lives in seclusion. Within this context, Amarjiban becomes extraordinary because it gives us direct access to the inner thoughts and experiences of a woman from that period. The literary importance of Amarjiban is immense. It is widely recognized as the first autobiography written by an Indian woman and the first full-length autobiography written by a Bengali woman. The language is simple and straightforward, yet its emotional impact is profound. Each composition begins with a devotional verse, creating a connection between personal suffering and spiritual faith. The text later gained international attention when historian Tanika Sarkar translated it into English under the title Words to Win. Today, the autobiography is widely studied in courses on women's writing, autobiography studies, history, and Indian literature. Let us conclude with one of Rassundari Devi's most memorable statements. "We suffered so much just to learn to read." This autobiography does not simply tell us about the past. It reminds us that education, freedom, and the right to speak for oneself were hard-earned achievements. Amarjiban is more than the story of one woman. It is the story of countless women whose voices were ignored, silenced, or forgotten by history. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We will see you again in the next video.